I see.
The truth! You can't handle the truth!
Christ is risen.
Surely he is risen.
Yep. So today we have the Syrian Seeker with us again today.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry,
and of course,
assalamu alaikum. No, I'm kidding.
and of course,
to Allah.
yeah, as Eddie Murphy used to say, and I'm dating myself here, keep the Hakam off my bread. If you haven't seen this comedy show, you probably won't know. I think it was called Raw or Delirious, one of the two. Anyway, back when racism was perfectly acceptable, if not entertaining. And of course,
really, was it racism?
Well, whatever. It actually, if you hear his routine, yeah, actually it was racism, but it was okay. We were okay with it back then.
Yeah.
Back when jokes were allowed,
Back exactly.
Yeah, when people had fun.
Exactly.
Yes.
Amen. So yeah, we've got a lot of crazy things going on. Speaking of which, in the world, all around. Well, I don't want to say all around the world, but no doubt around the world. But at least a couple of spots in Europe. In the U.S., it's definitely advertised all over the place. They're going after the Donald again, accused of I don't know how many counts of I don't know what.
I think it was 34.
34 counts of some kind of thing that everyone else does.
I guess so. It's like a whole bunch of stuff that all the other congressmen already do.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not trying to excuse it, but I'm just saying.
I was gonna say, you ever notice how, like, when a famous person is in trouble, everyone else around them point the finger at them, like they're sacrificing them?
Wow, great way to put it.
Yep.
A scapegoat.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it's all theater. Sorry.
The best thing about all of it is, even if the more they keep harassing him, the more of the chance he's got winning the election, so let them continue.
True.
Yep, I completely agree. I mean, well, look, I'm not a Trump supporter. I think some people know that. I'm just this is my belief when it comes to politics. Since we're on the subject, and that's what kind of we'll be talking about with what's going on with June 1st in the UK tomorrow. What I feel is going to be a big event, especially now that it's surrounded by these two things, like these incidences going on in Europe and in the U.S. But my perspective on politics is this: how do you know a politician is lying? Anyone hear this one?
Mm-hmm.
No.
When he says he's telling the truth.
Oh, there's that. When his lips are moving.
Oh.
Yeah, well,
Dang.
another truth.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time. Exactly. Yeah, that sums up my politics. I mean, my last hero was Dr. Ben Carson, and he disappointed me with the whole lockdown and lethal serum stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm done with that. I'm done with it altogether.
The
Yeah. So you mentioned this. Actually, the first I heard of it. Patriarch Christian, you said something happened in Germany today?
Yeah, so there was basically a rally exactly identical to what we're doing tomorrow against Islamism in Germany, and the speaker of the event or leader of the event was stabbed in the name of Islam
Of course.
just before he was about to speak. So I think there was others that were also injured. I'm not too sure, but yeah, it is on the news. Well, it depends. You have to look for it, of course, nowadays because it won't be on the mainstream news.
Yeah.
Because it's an act of terrorism. I'm surprised they even got it as a. Yeah, there we go. I think that's it. So yeah, so basically, a guy was speaking about Islam and its what it's doing to Germany and how worried they're getting about it all. Too many migrants that they don't know about. Same across most countries in Europe. And before the guy even had a chance to speak, he got stabbed.
That's disturbing, to say the least.
Literally proving his point.
It looks there in that photo. It looks there. That it's quite empty and there's hardly anyone around, which is kind of strange because it's supposed to be quite a big demonstration. I mean, if you look right in front, you've got like a billboard or a clipboard in the photo, close to the lens. So,
wow.
I don't know if you. So, he must have been in the street. It was just like a small thing. Whereas tomorrow there's going to be thousands of us joining together from Scotland, Wales, Ireland. There's people traveling from Australia, Canada, Germany, also the USA.
Wow.
We've got people coming who agree with us that that the liberals, the left liberals, have taken it too far with their wokery and nonsense that they, the sexualization of children, everything like that, cancel culture and stuff. And then we've got obviously the problem with illegal immigration, bringing, a culture that doesn't like ours, that of people that don't want to fit in, don't want to abide by our laws, don't want to take part in our traditions or integrate, and want to basically just bring their culture with them and everything about them with it and force it upon others. And we're at a point now where the MI5 and MI6, which is the special intelligence services that we have here, where 98% of their work, this is a survey that was done, 98% of their work is based on keeping Islam monitored. So anything to do with Islam, 98% of the taxpayers' money that goes to the MI5 and MI6 units are on are basically cover Islam. So it's terrorism and stuff like that. So it's worrying, you know. I mean, personally, I if you could, which you couldn't, you know, because I suppose in democracy you're supposed to be, you know, have that freedom of religion and freedom to practice it. The problem is Islam compatible with the West? And in my book, in my view, is most definitely not. But the problem is if you ban Islam, then you're gonna have to look at banning other religions as well, or if you try to ban Islam, they'd call for a ban for all religions, especially with, you know, the modern age and the growth of atheism growing exponentially. So yeah, so you got to be careful with that one. However, what we can do is stop the boats and, you know, try and stop the people coming here in the first place, and basically say, you know, to those who do come here, you respect our law, you respect our traditions, our culture, our way of life, you integrate to the best of your ability, and if you don't, then you go back home. It's as simple as that. That's what we want.
Right. I mean, at least not be a detriment to society and, you know, try to push ethnic cleansing and Sharia law and all these kinds of crazy things. I mean, at least that.
Exactly. I mean, we've got over 120 Sharia law courts in the UK as it is. But they have to run alongside the law of the land here. So they can't, you know, behead people or anything like that. But they can do with they can deal with affairs such as divorce and stuff like that, you know. So they've got that, but it won't be long before you get an Islamic political party. And when that happens, or you see the majority of the government, the seats that are filled are, you know, with, you know, Muslims, that's when you're going to see the problem. It's the attack within. I mean, they haven't even had to, you know, use a tank, a gun, or anything, and, you know, they've already basically nearly won.
Yeah, I mean that's how it works these days. And well, they do have war too, as we see between the age-old war between the Jews and the Muslims. You know, I mean, there's still that going on, but yeah, absolutely agree with you. You know, it's all about control. Well, of course, the thing that I'm combating, mass media messaging, is a major influence worldwide. We saw that during the lockdown, the power that has over people.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and instantaneously, with one click of a button, everyone around the world at the same time is starting to believe that same message.
That's it.
Pretty powerful.
People don't want to test facts nowadays. They're too lazy, especially intellectually. Everyone's too lazy. They claim to be scholars on every topic without even looking into anything. You know, it's the whole most atheists. You'll find 99.9% of atheists that you talk to haven't even bothered reading the Bible or looking into God as a subject. You know, like, you know, proper studying. Is there any proof of the Creator? Because I guarantee you, if they did, you know, they'd find God within seconds. But they don't want to. They just go along the, you know, it's my life, me. You know, I was born, I live and do exactly what I want, chase what I need or want, and then I die, basically. And then in the meantime, I'll say stuff like, you know, my dead relatives are in heaven, drinking beer and having fun with Uncle Mike and Mark and all this stuff. So, which is loaded, you know, and believe in other things as well, like aliens, angels, Santa Claus, you know, all types of other stuff. That's the typical, you know, atheism that we have here now, which is scary, but, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let's stay on the subject since we're on it. I do want to talk about how they're definitely controlling us through economy too. What the lockdown did to us economically. That quote 2 weeks to flatten the curve end quote, which is still ongoing. And that has decimated the economy worldwide, possibly beyond repair, possibly. And that okay. Well, let's get into that too much. But yeah, the other thing is mass media. Let me just share an example. Something some of us have been calling mass media Mooneyism for over a decade now, namely me. I know I'm quoting myself here, but yeah, basically people that have bought into the rhetoric, that have been indoctrinated so deeply, and like Yuri Bezmenov warned actually, 70s, 80s, about how that conditioning that they were doing in the gulags in communist Russia. Well, basically that was to you either converted, let's use that word converted to the state beliefs, or you were exterminated. And so basically they broke you through repetition, habitual repetition, if you made it to the gulags. And if you did succumb, and according to research, the majority will succumb. I can't remember the exact number, but let's, for argument's sake, let's say it was 2/3. I think it's more than that, but 2/3, even if you're aware that you're being brainwashed, will still get brainwashed. Okay, so, and that's what's been going on with media for decades. We've had these same messages pushed over and over and over again. And so decade after decade, generation after generation, we've adopted these beliefs into our individual mindset and collectively, therefore, as a culture.
Yeah.
And so hence the mass media Mooney, where the message is you have such a belief, such a passionate conviction for the mass media rhetoric that you're willing to set yourself on fire for it. Okay. And recently, the most popular one was the airman who set himself on fire in protest of what Israel was doing after October 7th, and as a response, and also to free their hostages, which is still haven't been freed, by the way. I mean, if the Muslims want to end this war, all they got to do is give the hostages back. So
and do you know what? Arguing with these people as well, it's just like, well, some of them won't even argue now. Most of them, I mean, that I've seen on video now, they just cover their faces and they don't say a word to you. So how can you even have dialogue with these people? I can even explain. It's because the reason why they don't want to speak is because they haven't got any answers to the questions you give them. When you say, do you support Hamas?
Right.
Or can you condemn Hamas? They refuse to, or they'll bypass the question and put a different question on you on yourself. And you're like, are you going to answer this question or not? Like, do you condemn Hamas or do you support Hamas? Like, which one is it? And they're like, they just won't answer it. They'll say something else, or they'll just stay quiet. So yeah, it's yeah, like there was this one girl that I've been watching recently that's been they're getting quite regular on the news. I don't know why, because she's intellectually just she's gone. But yeah, they asked her, do you support Hamas or what it did on October the 7th? And all she kept doing is saying, well, what about Hamas on October the 6th and October the 5th? And they were saying, exactly. Do you know what they were doing? Do you know who Hamas are? And they're a prescribed terror group. And she was going, no, they're not. Did you see how nice Palestine was before the IDF went in and all this stuff? Oh, wow. She was coming out with absolute, BS that, anyone in Palestine would just, like, if you gave them a microphone now and said, here you are, tell us what you would do to the infidels if they come here. They'd probably be honest themselves and tell you, and they'd condemn these people themselves. Queers for Palestine. What on earth is that?
Right.
The only place they're going to survive in the Middle East there is Israel. Any queer, any gay, any trans person, anyone in the LGBT community, if you want a chance to survive in the Middle East, the only place you're going to survive there is in Israel. So,
right.
You go ahead, be my guest. In fact, if there are any LGBTQ community people that want to take me up on this offer, then feel free to drop a comment with your email. I will personally pay for your ticket to go out there and let's see how long you last in the streets of Palestine and Gaza.
Excuse me. And of course, they won't put their money with them. Well, actually, I can see some of them taking you up on that offer because they might be that ignorant. I mean, I don't mean to sound ugly, but I'm literally meaning they might be that unaware of the reality.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is some of the, especially the left, they're so quick to condemn this war, but they won't. Where were they when the war was happening in Yemen or Syria or anywhere else? None of them had these street protests like they did now. In fact, on my way home earlier, I was in my car driving past, and there was another car in front of me, and they had one of those car flags hanging out the window, and it was a Palestinian flag. And I just overtook laughing. I was laughing my head off. And lo and behold, the driver started putting their V's up at me, doing the W sign at me, all sorts of things. And I was thinking, wow, just because I'm laughing, for all they could have knew, I could have been laughing whilst talking on hands-free on the phone or something. But, they straight away, they started, driving like a lunatic and, pointing fingers at me and stuff like that. So I was like, wow, here we go. But tomorrow is going to be very interesting. There have been a lot of rumors. It's interesting what you've shown earlier as well, what's happened in Germany. Our terrorist attack level has been put on the highest alert since 9/11 recently. But yeah, there's been lots of rumors speculating it's going to go off tomorrow. But we've been warned and told and instructed by those that are leading this rally tomorrow. Tommy, like the likes of Tommy Robinson, Paul Thorpe, Danny Tomo, and people like that. They've said, look, don't play into their hands, especially mass media and the police, because they will look for absolutely any excuse to label us far right thugs or football hooligans or something like that, and say, look, here you are. See, all these people are violent, when the majority of people that are turning up tomorrow, including myself, are just working class people who are sick to death of the way that this country is going and fear for our children. We fear for our children. We genuinely do worry. The topic tomorrow is lawfare and a totalitarian state. It's basically, about the two-tier policing system, but there's a lot more to it than that as well. It's like, Tommy Robinson, for instance, he got arrested for having breakfast in the cafe.
Yeah, I saw that video. That was insane.
Yeah, so the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, he's a Muslim. It's already been proven that he's got established relationships with people in the Muslim Brotherhood gang, and friendships with people in other prescribed terrorist organizations that the government have classed as terrorist organizations, yet he still has links to them, pictures of him with them and leaders and such. And this guy runs London, and London now is a 45% white city. Now, call me racist, but you'd expect anywhere else, somewhere like Kenya, somewhere like Nairobi, Ghana, or anywhere like that, you'd expect if you was to visit that place, it would be majority black because of where it is. It's the same as if you went to India. You would go to India and you'd think the capital of India would mainly have Indian people there. Not a mixture of Brits and Irish, or American. Just imagine that. Imagine going to India or Pakistan and seeing the capital city just full of, Brits and Americans. You wouldn't believe your eyes, would you? But
Yeah.
it's okay for it to happen over here, and if we don't call it out, we get called racists.
Yeah, it's exactly.
That's
exactly. I mean, that's exactly let me just forgive me here. I'm not trying to change the subject, but let me just explain to the audience why I have this up. This is actually a different picture. This is an incident that happened before was he Muslim that set himself on fire before the pro Palestine thing?
They really love death, don't they?
Yeah, well, so the mass media Mooney example here is actually a few years before that. This is a guy who set himself on fire in front of Trump Towers in New York because Trump was about to take office for the first time. He won the election. And so this guy sets himself on fire because, media was telling him that Trump is the most evil person on this planet. And, he does the Mooney thing by setting himself on fire in protest. The California Moonies, if you're familiar with that.
Because when someone does this, people feel sorry for them, and then they take to the streets. This is the problem. I mean, do you know another thing as well with the liberalism and all that, the wokery here? We've just had a threat from. Have you heard of Just Stop Oil?
No.
Okay, so there's a group here in the UK. It is going worldwide. There's a group called Just Stop Oil. They're zero carbon. Absolutely green.
Gotcha.
Green climate activist nutcases. Like we're talking, they are absolute freaks for climate change. That believe if the Earth gets a degree and a half warmer, we're past the point of turning back. And do they not know? The Earth on its axis every certain amount of years has this change, and it does, and the weather changes dramatically. There's been instances in the 80s and the 60s and beyond that where we've had weird weather and climate change and stuff, and in the UK here, right? I mean, I can't remember I think it was like 0.2% or 0.02%. We're responsible for carbon emissions in the entire globe. So I think it was like 0.2%. So if say that was the maximum, right? 0.2%. Or even let's go with 2%. Say we were responsible for 2% of the global carbon emissions of the world, and we completely go green, absolutely green, right? What about the rest? Are you going to try and convince China to stop using coal or non-green energy, if you like? And because it's not going to happen. You're not going to get that. Or Russia, for instance, and these are the biggest, let's say, that are guilty, if you like, of using non-green energy. And Yuri Bezman of the Force State, that was an amazing video. So these guys have basically turned around and they've made a threat. They said that they're going to overwhelm our judiciary system by disrupting as much traffic as they possibly can during the election, and they're causing thousands of arrests. They're going to basically just overwhelm the police, overwhelm the judicial system with the courts. They're going to do everything they can to just cause chaos across the UK, so people can't get to hospitals, go to work, stop transport, completely all the main motorways.
Right.
Or, I don't know what they call this. Is it subways or something they call it?
Right.
I don't know where elsewhere, but yeah, the main roads that we have here are called motorways, where you have 3 lanes.
You're talking about the freeway? Yeah,
the freeway. So that's the our fastest ones, and they're on about clogging up all those like arteries. Basically, it's caused one massive heart attack. So yeah, that's where we're heading. So yeah, tomorrow's event is mainly to do with the police system, what they did. So sorry, going back because I did go off topic. So Tommy Robinson's had basically, like, to dig into Tommy. Tommy became an activist at a young age. I think he was 21 when he first started speaking up against Islam. And basically, it was to do with he was a lad from a place called Luton, which is near London, or if not in. And he noticed massive changes in his town. There was mosques like growing at a rate that you just couldn't fathom. There was people that he knew getting drugged up and used, and like I think it was a family member or something that was held by a grooming gang as a hostage and drugged up and used as used for sexual purposes. Then there was people he knew that had neighbors that were having windows put through. Then there was street dawah teams converting children and doing all sorts, and it just went too far. And then there was a March homecoming parade, and they were trying to block that, the Muslims there that moved there. Then there was massive protests about them wanting Sharia law in the country, and they were telling women, normal British women that were just wearing lovely dresses on their way to work, to cover up, and they were having protests outside people's schools, all sorts. It just kicked off. So he started speaking up against it. Then he formed what they called the EDL, which was the English Defence League. He left that because the people that were joining for the wrong reasons. Now, Tommy, he doesn't blame the Muslims. He says that you will find peaceful Muslims wherever you go in the world. And I agree with him. You will. That, not every single Muslim is a bad person. No one is saying that. What we're saying is what's in the Quran and what's in the Hadiths and what's taught, and how some of these radical, what you call Islamists that want Islam worldwide, is growing massively, and it's a huge danger to our culture and our society. So these guys that were joining the EDL, they were, in the end, before he left, they were basically just racists. They hated not just like Muslims, but they hated black people, and they had a very, very bad view on certain things. So Tommy left the EDL and became independent, and he started journalism. So during all this, he's always been an advocate of speaking against Islam and it being the main religion. Or he's pre-warned us, years ago, what will happen if we continued with the illegal immigration and continued to let it spread as quickly and as far as it has. And he was right. And people before didn't like him. The media had fun with him by labeling him a racist, a thug, and they took it to all types of lengths. Even Piers Morgan tried embarrassing him live on Good Morning Britain years ago. And then basically, when things started to, what he said, come true, people have started to grow to like him. And now the government and they've got involved, and he hasn't got a platform to speak on like YouTube, only Rumble. He's allowed on that, and X, thanks to Elon Musk. But yeah, so people now are beginning to support him, and they've seen, since he's had the freedom to go on many podcasts, and because the whole podcast industry and streaming like what we're doing now is it's only been around for the past, what, say 8 to 9 years, like properly, especially, and it's grown a lot since COVID. So lots of people have had him on, and they're learning, they're beginning to love him and learn who the real Tommy is. Now, since the conflict of Israel and Palestine, Tommy said, basically, he spoke about Islam and said that this conflict is mainly around that. If and he'd gone into depths with it with some of his videos. Now he wanted to cover what was going on with he wanted to point out the difference between a pro-Israel march or protest against the pro-Palestine ones, because the pro-Palestine ones, there was people basically climbing all over our cenotaphs and statues, damaging them, threatening to damage them, putting their flags up everywhere, causing an absolute nuisance, anti-Semitic chants, calls for jihad, stuff, intifada, stuff like that. Yet, when you go to pro-Israel, where release the hostages protest, everyone's joyful, everyone's there. They're there with pictures, their flags, and that's it. And it's a very quiet, very respectful protest, peaceful protest. And there's no calls for any violence or anything like that. Just, they want the war to stop. They don't want it to continue. Nobody wants it to continue. But they want the hostages back. They want those, people had family members taken away. And what happened on October 7th was disgusting. And we don't want it happening here neither. So, So Tommy went to cover that. Now, the mayor, Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, and the head of the Metropolitan Police decided that they would make up that Tommy Robinson was going to cause a nuisance at this pro-Israel protest. So they basically threatened him and said, if you turn up to London this time or date, then we'll arrest you. So Tommy still went because he's a journalist. He's free to do so. There's no reason for him not to go to London. He hasn't got any rules or restrictions from stopping him covering it. So he went, and the Israelis loved him. The Jews loved him. Those that went there that were supportive. He was live streaming at the time, and he was in a cafe eating his breakfast, and there were so many people going up to him, cuddling him, telling him they loved him, and they basically said that his presence would cause fear among the people and in violence and stuff like that. So in the end, about 30 coppers, police officers, turned up outside the cafe, and Tommy walked into his own fate whilst being filmed by his cameraman. And he said, lads, I'm not doing anything. I'm here. I'm a journalist. I'm here to cover the protest. That's all I'm doing. Is anyone here alarmed by my presence? And everyone around him were going, no, we love you, Tommy. We love you. No, we love you. Police officers, back off. He's lovely. He belongs with us. We don't want anything to happen to him. They still nicked him. They handcuffed him, and there was a good 30 police officers surrounding him. Then they pepper sprayed him at point blank range. And when they arrested him, he was in the cells I think it was for a day or two. They didn't charge him. They had nothing to charge him on. So he got released. So since then, they tried digging up something else, which they managed to do. They found something from, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, that they dug up and stuck on him. He went to court. So they're trying to say that he breached some kind of condition that was put on him a few years ago. Anyway, so it went to court. He got found not guilty at court, which we knew all along. And whilst there, Tommy was trying to say, look, this is what happened to me. This was unfair, what you did. It was against the law, for a start. We foretold that this would happen. You guys knew this would happen. Why did you let it happen? And he also went on to explain what happened to him from the police brutality side of things. Now, most of the police officers that were standing in the trial didn't have their body worn cameras. They said that they lost the footage or they swapped cameras. there was excuse after excuse after excuse by all police officers. So the judge found him not guilty, and he won on St. George's Day, which was brilliant, and he was able to attend that event. And what he revealed there was, for the past 6 to 7 months, he's been covering undercover, going into government, parliament, and other places to prove that we do have a corrupt establishment that is against us, with the mass media working hand in hand with the police, with the government, to cancel people, to stop our freedoms, to promote wokery, Islamism, everything else like that. He's even got interviews that he's had with people that are members of the government, ex-members of government and parliament, and he's created a 90-minute documentary for basically the world to see tomorrow, live outside Parliament. So that will be, I think it's at 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. So, yeah, so tomorrow we're all meeting up, and he's called for as many people to come as possible who love this country, who, who are worried. See, if you look at all the videos that you're scrolling through, they're all bad. They're all bad commentary. None of them are the good ones. And yeah, Tommy Robinson arrested. I mean, it's all the same one.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, the incident that you talked about, I watched the video.
There's
and
Tommy.
For some reason, it's unavailable. Where's it at? I just found it.
So there's the video of his arrest.
Where's the one you said at the cafe? That's the one I watched.
Scroll up.
Okay, I missed it.
So there, left, or at the bottom left.
Here.
Left again. There.
That's that one.
Yeah, that's him in the cafe where he was apparently causing alarm and distress.
I could have swore I watched a different one. Let's check this one out.
Yeah, check this one out and tell me if he's causing alarm and distress.
Oh yeah, this is the one. Okay, my bad. I did watch. Should we watch this?
Yeah, definitely. So that you can all see for yourselves.
All right.
You won't get striked or anything.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like that's what I'm wondering. I don't know if we're allowed or not. Let's just leave it like when you're ready to book it, we'll watch it then. I'll have it ready to go, just to make sure if they don't stop this video for some reason, because you never know who's watching, what they're up to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So so there's many that are going tomorrow. There'll be, but the problem is about tomorrow is Saturday. Every Saturday, like we've seen since October the 7th, has been filled. The streets have been filled with pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine, whatever you want to call them, supporters, and he's holding this event on the same day.
Holy crap! Okay,
which has been a massive challenge for the police, and they've given a number of rules, conditions, restrictions to Tommy, which he's recorded again which is on YouTube, a video of him talking to the police about what he's allowed and what he's not allowed to do, and the same as for the guys turning up. And it's completely barbaric, like complete against what happened on St. George's Day. The police tried framing some of the St. George's fans there, those that are come to celebrate, a feast day of England, and they got labeled being far right extremists and football hooligans, yet most of them were like teachers and stuff like that. And they were literally, these guys were literally just walking across the pavement, and the police just surrounded them with horses, blocked them in, made them all feel, claustrophobic, and they pushed their way through. They didn't cause any violence.
Wow.
And then next thing you know, there was at least 6 of the main media sources that we have here in the UK posting it, saying that there was it was
Nico.
kicking off. Yeah. Pardon?
Nico.
Shoot, go ahead.
So, are we allowed to talk about that interview, or at all, or?
Yeah. I was just showing, and especially with audio, but showing video and audio. Sometimes people have it copy protected, and they get their panties in a bunch. Forgive my English. So
Let's just talk about it, because that pertains very well to the interview where it was talking about as soon as something starts mentioning, quote unquote, like SJ, or like the idea that there is a public form of justice, it immediately becomes like authoritarian.
right.
Yeah. Let me pull up the name. I can't remember.
So yeah, as you can
Russian.
see there, he that's where he's going to meet his fate. They're all waiting for him. In fact, when he was actually sat there at first, just eating his food before when he first started filming, they were one of the officers was actually waving at him through the window, laughing at him, basically saying,
they knew who he was.
We're coming to get you. You know what's going to happen next, and it's so sad because he's. Tommy, if you like, people call him racist. They call him this, they call him that. The thing is, right? Most of Tommy's friends that work with him and work on these projects that he does, especially recently on the documentaries that he's done. The Rape of Britain is absolutely amazing what he's done there, exposing the Muslim grooming gangs, and seeking justice for the victims, which is no one else in the UK is doing that. Not even the police. They dismissed 1,400 victims of rape.
That's a lot.
And, and this is in one small area. And Tommy went up there and he exposed them all the participants in the gangs that got away with it. Tommy went over with a group that and a camera and said, "Listen, you did this to so and so. You did this, and he got into detail with what happened during the act of the actual, the rape, and they had nothing to say. One of them even got in a van, said, "Follow me," and made him follow him to a police station. And he said, "This is what I'm talking about." He said, "This guy feels that safe with the police." They're married into one another, that they're absolutely fine. They're working in hand. Then he actually covered this one, which is, I don't know why it's not common knowledge. There was this one interview Tommy did where he found basically an inspector, one of the highest up ranks that you can get in the police force, who left the police force. So he resigned before he got sacked for taking money from grooming gangs.
Wow.
For dismissing rape crimes. Yet that does not hit the mainstream news. Back in the 90s, it would have, or the 80s, that would have been the breaking news story. But now,
it's normalized now, I guess, like Islamism in the West.
Well, no, the left won't report it. The main media won't report on anything to do or against Islam. The government are scared.
That's how it is here too, a little bit.
Yeah, the government are scared wits about Islam, so they won't mention anything. No one is. And if you look at the thumbnail that was originally on this video, Nico, have you got that one?
Mohammed.
Which? Oh Lordy. So what is it called again? Do you remember?
The thumbnail that I sent, that you made, you mixed in. It was that picture I sent you of a list of the things.
Okay, I'll pull that up. Gotcha. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Meanwhile, Mohammed Aurelius has just joined us. Christ is risen, Muhammad.
Christ has risen. Praise Jesus.
Amen.
Hello, Mohammed. How are you?
I'm very good. It's funny, you know. One time, I was mentioning the name of Prophet Momo, and I said by mistake, "Peace be upon him."
Oh no!
I still do that. I'm not gonna lie. I do that. And then I'll be like, no, wait.
Just say you meant piss be upon him.
Yeah. I need to change it to piss be upon him. Yeah.
Yeah, piss be upon him. But yeah, so basically the government here, they're that scared of Islam. They just they won't say anything. So tomorrow, we've been called, as fans and as Brits, not just by Tommy, but by many. And it's not just, people think this is just Tommy Robinson's match. It's not. This is from Lawrence Fox, Mayor Tusi, Paul Thorpe, some of the main YouTubers that are on here that speak up for the true Brits here. So Here we go. Here's some of this, why this is some of the problems that we've got. So David MP killed by an Islamist. Attempted assault on Michael Gove MP by
did
Islamist.
Anything happen?
Where?
In response to all these incidents.
So did anything happen? Yeah. With the David Ames, Sir David Ames.
Did it? I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure, but again, you would think that would be main news. These are things that I've never even heard of until
exactly. Same here.
Yeah, so
that's a lot.
Attempted assault on Michael Gove. He's someone that's in government now. Steve McCabe MP was chased out of a constituency meeting by Islamists. GMB Union advised MPs to hold surgeries online whilst the Islamist unrest continues. Farrier Clark MP's office vandalized by Islamists. They actually threatened to petrol bomb Farrier Clark's office
my God.
and kill them. Maria Caulfield MP's office vandalized by Islamists. Again, they threatened to behead her and her children. Joe Stephen MP's office vandalized by Islamists. Peter Frogiskatos, I believe he's Greek. MP's office vandalized by Islamists, and the Ministry of Justice vandalized by Islamists. Yeah, the list goes on. I mean, that's just a very, very, very small list.
It's obviously the religion.
Yeah, and I mean Jacob Rees-Mogg. He was chased. Yeah, you can see the fruits of Islam, eh?
Maybe in pieces, more like.
Well, it was Barack Hussein Obama's agenda shut down Guantanamo Bay.
It actually started with Bush, because after 9/11, he coined the term the religion of peace.
Bush did that?
Yeah, Bush did that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's correct. That's where
which is weird
phrase
because I don't know
from.
Muhammad, I don't know about you, but when you were a Muslim, did you say like religion of peace to people? Because I usually just said about peace.
No. Like I look for me, I knew we sucked, and I was just like, I'm not gonna talk about it. you know.
I was gonna say it was very gradual.
Wow.
Do you want to know something as well, right? Sorry, go on, Syrian.
Very close to being an extremist at one point. Very close.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, Muhammad Aurelius was considering jihad yourself. I mean, because I interviewed you both. I did one of you on was it last week Friday, and then the next Muhammad on Saturday. So
I in 2011 I nearly went to Syria. I was looking for someone to take me there. I was 17 years old at the time, but I didn't find the ride.
A young man, like I say young man loosely, like no offense, but like at age 17, you're pretty much still a little boy, right? And so they're sending you off to basically, forgive me here, but to use a Yuri Bezmenov label, as a useful idiot, basically you're expendable. It's not
of course,
It's not like if you fully are willing to sacrifice yourself for their ideology, you're now taken care of. No, quite the opposite. You're expendable.
So
Sorry.
So here's I'll just mention something. Jihadists, I mean, they're animals. Okay, they're actually the thing is that they're relentless. They are fearless. They're ideologically driven, and it's just what the faith makes them. The Islam, real Islam, really makes you put zero value on your life, and so
absolutely,
so you get to the point where you love death like people love life, and it's not that great because because the thing is that you're just going to cause a lot of damage to people around you. But so the thing is that in the 80s, and this is the beginning of the story with jihadists. In the 80s, the CIA and the United States, it was a mistake. The US did a mistake. They thought they could use jihadists like they used people in South America, and they used different groups. So they thought they could utilize jihad. So it was a proxy, and they thought they could use jihadists, and they tried to use them against the USSR in Afghanistan. And the thing is that jihadists and Islamists, they have no friend. Their main goal is that they want to globalize Islam. They want to spread Islam to every part of the world. And you might think that you are the one using them, but they're actually the ones using you. And that was the mistake that they made, that they teamed up with the jihadists. They gave them weapons. My father in the 80s spoke about jihad offices in Saudi Arabia. And these jihad offices were US sanctioned, and they basically shipped people to Afghanistan. What happened is that the Islam that was in Saudi Arabia, which was the Salafi Islam, it was very radical. And what you see in Afghanistan today as the child marriage, the oppression of women, no education, no work for women, stoning, cutting hands, all this BS is because Saudi Arabia imported that version of Islam to a poor country. So the interesting thing is that now talking about Islamists in the West and their migration to the West. So the Sheikh Ibn Baz said, I hope he burns in hell, because he tormented Saudi women.
He burn.
He will. I think he will. So the Sheikh Ibn Baz, he said that it is haram to migrate to a kafir, infidel country. Okay, and it was an official fatwa that basically you cannot, if you're Muslim, you cannot go to a kafir country. So what happened is that after Ibn Baz, things changed with Islamists, especially after 9/11. So after 9/11, Saudi Arabia started being pressured by the United States to do something about the radical Islam in Saudi Arabia, because we were exporting terrorists like no tomorrow. And so the United States said to Saudi Arabia, you have to do something, or there's going to be consequences. And so what Saudi Arabia started doing is that they started prosecuting these radical Islamists, and since 9/11, they started fleeing the Middle East. They started fleeing the UAE, and they just Saudi Arabia and the UAE. But the prosecution of Islamists intensified in 2015 when Mohammed bin Salman came to power. So thousands, maybe tens of thousands of Islamists went to the UK, went to France, and the stupid, treacherous politicians, elites in the West, they took them in, despite the fact that there was plenty of evidence that these people are never going to assimilate. But they didn't give a shit, really. And so this is why we are in the position we are in today, because of your politicians.
Yeah, and they also funded it, and I really appreciate your use of English, by the way. Just got to put that out there.
Yeah.
You're my kind of guy with the whole F-bombs and S-bombs and all that. But I mean, I don't mind it. But anyway,
yeah, I'll try to control my tongue.
yeah, no worries. It doesn't offend me, but just some of our audience members there might.
Okay.
Yeah. At any rate, So I mean, we've talked about this in your interview, and it's kind of like I'm hearing this perspective for the first time. To be honest with you, I'm embarrassed to admit. I feel like I should have known that for some reason, but it's just intriguing to. I mean, look, we've all watched the Michael Moore documentary that put him on the map, 9/11, right? Fahrenheit 9/11.
Yeah.
So it's not that we don't have that perspective, and of course the government's investigation and the 9/11 events were well publicized through news outlets and that type of thing. But that's different from what you're saying.
Yeah. This is okay. So I'll tell you what's happened. Islamist kind of from Ibn Baz, who said that migration to Kafir countries is prohibited, to Islamists using a different verse in the Quran to say, أَلَمْ تَكُنْ أَرْضُ اللَّهِ وَاسِعَةً فَتُهَاجِرُوا فِيهَا. The land of God wasn't very big so that you can migrate. And so they believe that they need, they can't have their agenda in Saudi Arabia, in UAE. It's not possible anymore for them to stop women from driving and prevent them from education and stone and cut hands. So they realize that they cannot do it anymore. So instead, they gave a fatwa, they gave a permission to all the Islamists. Okay, come to the West, and we will build a caliphate there. We will build so it's the goal was they never had the intention of assimilating. They never had the intention of coexisting with you. It was just the plan was to hijack. It was to hijack because you have democratic systems, and you're if I am Canadian, I can probably get into politics. It's not a problem. It's not the same. It's not the same as in the Muslim Arab world. If you're not Muslim, if you're not Arab, sorry, you're not going to hold any office.
Right.
And so they thought because it's the same. Hitler did the same thing. Hitler he used the democratic process to hijack Germany, and as a result, 53 million people died in Europe. And so it's the same thing. They're hijacking the democratic process, and so unless I made a suggestion, and one of my friends didn't like it. And I said, you need to do an ideological test with the help of a polygraph. So basically you do this at the entry points of the country. You at the border, you let people before you let people in, especially people from Islamic backgrounds. You put that you test them ideologically.
Yeah.
Okay. So and the polygraph, the lie detection. If you ask an Islamist, are you do you think are you equal to women? Yes or no? If they tell you yes, that polygraph is gonna go crazy. You see, it's like very simple questions. You need to test these people. What do they? Okay, if they are very moderate Sufi Muslims, fine, no problem. But if they hate the West, if they and then this is something I mentioned before, to a couple people, Arab people. I said to them, when you came to the West, you knew that the West is a friend of Israel. And so why are you opening your mouth here and trying to, it's like, this is ridiculous. Why are you bringing your grudge against Jews to the West? These are doing ideological tests with lie detectors, in my opinion, is the best approach to
it's an idea of like ungratefulness.
Yeah. But yeah, it's that if you don't do anything, you're not over exaggerating. You're not paranoid. These people are dangerous.
Yeah,
I think one of the interesting things is that people you'd think that wouldn't be violent or dangerous could be eventually, because it happens in grades, for me.
Oh, you're breaking up.
This time where I felt like I should travel to Palestine myself, being there and fighting or whatever, but at the end, somebody else, they have to weigh their conscience. Really say that this is the right thing.
Okay, I hate to say it, Syrian Seeker, but you were in and out of that. Would you be willing to restate that or summarize it? Apologies, because I don't know about the audience, but only caught half of it.
Is it me or Muhammad?
It's you. Yeah, you might want to jump out and jump back in. I don't know what's going on, but I think the connection's kind of going crazy on you for some reason, unfortunately.
I'll be right back.
All right. Sorry, folks. Yeah. So, did you have something you wanted to add to that, Muhammad?
I actually exited by mistake, and I didn't hear what he was saying.
Okay, yeah. Well, none of us did, unfortunately. But no worries. The Bill Gates of hell shall not prevail. We'll get this corrected. But while we're waiting to get that adjusted, let me just scroll down on this website that was shared with me, and I've heard of it before, and it seems like I went to it, but I'm embarrassed to admit I could be sometimes a bit soft, or I think it'd be more fair to say I'm a bit overwhelmed with all this craziness. So there's only so much I can take. But regardless, I encourage people to at least visit it once and then not obsess about it afterwards, but do visit it for enlightenment. It's thereligionofpeace.com. It's kind of like the Ramadan Bombathon website. That was really, really useful. So, yeah.
Hello.
Hello again. Okay, that's much better, much clearer. Yeah. All right. So basically, I scroll down. You can see all these events. I want to bring your attention the instances of jihad on the left. It gives you a rundown of things that they're at least aware of. These are not, of course, all the things, but things that they can validate, that they're vetted, that are documented, they can share. Yeah, it's just alarming, people. It's just very alarming. And as you mentioned before, Just like we talked about all these instances in London and UK of all these threats and bombings and all that of government officials, and it's not being spoke about on the news. So instead they're literally hiding all this. I don't know. What do you want to call it? Wondrous evil. Sorry.
The thing is that the Westerners are right now people in society. You know that they are very scared of Islam, and even liberals, even leftists. No one wants to criticize. It's not about protecting Muslims from bigotry and all of that. It's actually they have become a critical mass. That they are actually posing dangers, and some of the Syrian refugees, for example, you know that they should have, for example, vetted them properly. But what happened is that they let in people who are like supporters of Bashar Assad. They let in the Daesh. They let in the ISIS people. I mean, Daesh is ISIS. They let in Jabhat al-Nusra, and all these people got in with the women, with the children, and so I mean, I have no problem with like taking refugees, but the thing is that do your homework, do your due diligence. You shouldn't because it's not just a danger on your people. It's also a danger on the moderate Muslims. So the Sufis, the whatever, all the moderates. There are also dangers on them because they will be radicalized. So it's but over a good Muslim is an ignorant Muslim. That's the important point. That as long as you keep them shallow in their faith, they don't go deep. They're more or less fine, but they will integrate, more likely to integrate. But that's the thing, the Western countries did not let in moderates. They let in all the radicals, and now it's just a chain reaction, a cascade effect.
Yeah, it needs a vetting system. Where they're like, hey, are you potentially radical? Are you not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you test that, though? I mean, I hate to be the antagonist here, I guess. But, I mean, is there a way to find out which one is quote-unquote radical and which one isn't?
Yeah, very okay. So the thing is that, like I said, you could do ideological tests with lie detectors. That's one. Second one, keep an eye on the mosques. You see an imam praying against Jews and Christians.
That's a good sign. That's a good red flag.
Yeah,
yep.
So that's a good sign. That person out right away. You don't have to. It's multiculturalism, cultural enrichment. BS.
Location could be another good one. Like if you're letting people from Senegal or like Sufi regions, that's probably okay. But if you're letting people in from Syria, Iraq, Iran,
you should really vet them. You should, these countries, you should really, really vet them properly.
What's interesting is that at least here in America, there's a lot of ideas of, let everyone in because it's a free country, and that the idea of being like, everyone's fine, everything will be okay, is something I hear a lot from people of all kinds of different, beliefs and backgrounds, which is a nice story. But
you don't tell Japanese. You don't tell the Japanese to take in Koreans or whatever. Why are you just forcing Western countries and white countries to take in literally everyone? It's like it's double standards, and no, you should really protect your country.
Yes.
Well, I gotta say, in America, it is different because I mean I'm an immigrant myself, and so America was built, at least the America that we know, was built by immigrants.
Definitely.
So yeah, and it's one of its strengths. We see that its diversity. Unfortunately, diversity has not been redefined, but its diversity was one of its strengths. And one of the beautiful things about America is how
Uh,
all these different groups can coexist peacefully and civilly, if not get along well together in a place
It's
like
true,
America.
yeah. That is one thing
yeah,
that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
There's just a correction. It's not immigrants. It's not. It wasn't built by immigrants. It was built by immigrants who loved America, who loved. Yes. So the thing is that I have a rule: support the country you live in, or move to the country you support.
That's interesting because it goes back to that Yuri interview as well, where it's the allegiances. You might be able to test like certain people based on what their allegiances are. Like if you can tell somebody likes or wants their home country to prosper over where they're going, usually there's something there.
Mm. Let me add on that, because I mean there has to at the end of it. I mean, with both governments here in the UK and the West, because the UK and the USA are probably the most domineering countries in the West. Other European countries may disagree with that, but I totally believe that it's first America, Britain second, and usually the rest fall into what we usually do after. Now, Australia has been well ahead of us. They tried doing that points-based system, yet they've still had these terrorist attacks. Now, I like what Poland has put in, where they have sat back and they said, "Hang on, we're gonna watch you guys, sit back, watch you guys, and see how things pan out." And
Yeah.
they've looked at how multiculturalism, how it works, and what results because of it. And they're completely not having it. They don't want it at all. And Tommy expanded on this because he went over there and basically attended one of their patriotic rallies. And he said it was. He said he wept. He said because when he was there, he watched hundreds of thousands of Polish people, like families, all women, men, children, and he's seen them cry for whilst they were listening to their national anthem, and the love. He's seen the love that they had for their country, their culture, their traditions, everything about it. And he said, just imagine if Britain was like this once again. That's what and I was thinking, I would have thought the same thing, witnessing something like that, because we've been brainwashed into hating our country, hating our culture, hating the people that were once we revered as heroes, and now we've got this new instilled kind of left liberal approach on life. However, the most right end of the scale, the opposite end of the scale, you've got Islam, which is, if you think, conservatives or any party is extreme, you just need to look at what Islam.
Yeah, they're more conservative. Yeah.
In political wise, I mean, you're looking at theft. Your hands get cut off. Your woman gets caught cheating. She's going to get stoned to death, and by her family too. It's
hangings and crucifixions and
there's loads of stuff that we haven't that this country hasn't seen or witnessed for thousands of years, or hundreds of years. Yeah, they want that here now, and you'd think the first people to be against it would be the left, but there's a like everyone's saying, a big fear of this. If I talk about Islam, I'm either going to get killed or get called an Islamophobe. It's 1-2.
Yeah, just 6 hours ago. By the way, an Islamist stabbed a German in the street. I can send you the link. But yeah,
we covered that earlier. I spoke about it. It's disgusting. Basically, the same thing what that guy was doing there is what I'm heading into tomorrow. And I'm going to have to get off soon because obviously I've got to be up very early for this tomorrow.
Right, yeah.
So,
okay.
So I'll say this and then I'll have to make my way. But tomorrow's going to be, even myself, I'm a British person, born and bred. My great-granddad fought in both world wars for this country. I can probably go back so many generations that you wouldn't believe if I was to contact any member of my family. They'd say that, the bloodline is solid here.
Like medieval times?
Yeah, and I am scared myself tomorrow that, not just for myself, but for others, that something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, in the Western world, that shouldn't be the case. We're a democracy, where freedom of speech should prevail, where you could critique anything, where things are put in place, where laws and rules are put in place, where the countries should be policed right, that these threats shouldn't even be, spoken of, let alone apparent so much that most our intelligence services are working on it constantly, day and night, to protect us. There has to be a line drawn. There has to be a line drawn somewhere, because if we don't sort something soon, then this can turn either very ugly, like in regards to a civil war, or it could go the other way. It could go another way of actually becoming them winning, but in a peaceful manner. And look what happened to Iran. They had an Islamic regime put in place.
Yeah,
that's my biggest.
Sorry,
that's my biggest fear. Is that some people. I've actually heard someone the other day. They were talking about the same thing, but it was on a left-wing channel. And they actually turned around and said, well, if that happens, then, what's meant to be is what's meant to be. Different, and they were saying different over different countries at certain times in the years and stuff. And they said, if Britain's had its day, then it's had its day. He said, Britain hasn't existed forever. And he was going on like that. Yeah, he was supposed to be a British person. This is the madness. That's
they're just giving it up, yeah.
Yeah, they're just basically, I wouldn't even say giving up. It's the fact that they don't even love the country. They don't love
done with it,
that much. And you ask anyone around in Britain today, what was D-Day? What was what was it for? What does it symbolize? Who was St. George? None of them will have the answer, and especially the children. Yet they'll happily teach children that you can be a gerbil, a hamster, or a witch if you want to identify as one, and you can, be a boy today and a girl tomorrow. But they don't have a clue how to look after themselves, how to grow vegetables or plants, or who our heroes are, or why we are who we are, what makes us us.
Right.
And that's
like true British history.
Yeah, and it should be the same with any country, any culture, wherever it's even Islamic ones. I even agree that if you're happy in an Islamic country, which I don't believe anyone in their right mind is actually truly happy, unless they're actually, gone in the head. But if you are genuinely happy in your country and you love the way it was formed and you love the heroes and you want it to stay the same, so be it. That's good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't go and mix it all up and see what kind of comes out of it, because all that creates is blood, mess, fear, and all sorts of problems. And we're already struggling with other things as we are anyway, with the economy. Obviously we had the Wuhan flu, the Chinese flu, COVID. you know, and now we've got this on our doorstep, you know, and plus a general election that was supposed to be the same time as America's in, you know, November time, but it's now being brought forward to July. He's called for it early. So, yeah, it's for us Brits at the moment, the ones that do love and care and worry and fear for this nation. It is really tense at the moment, and people. You'll see tomorrow the turnout of how many Brits will turn up tomorrow. But I'm pretty certain that a lot of us are going to either be arrested for absolutely nothing, or just wound up to a point, or I can guarantee you, if anything, what the police might even do themselves is actually let us actually mix. I believe tomorrow there'll be a so-called accident where us lot are mixed with
Islamics.
Yeah, with the pro-Palestine.
Yeah. Right. And now that's literally a powder keg ready to blow.
Exactly.
It happens here all the time too, in New York and other places. I forgot where it was, but there was a protest, Israeli protest where they were like for Israel, and then there was a Palestine protest literally down the street, and they saw each other, and let's just say it didn't end well.
No.
Wow.
Well, you can't expect them to end well.
Yeah. I mean, that's what sucks though, is that like even if you want to stand up for what you believe, and it's like you yourself are peaceful. Let's say you're like, oh, I want, Israel to be Israel. I want it to be, a safe place for Jews. And then down the street, there's people who want to kill you. And, you're like, oh, well, interesting. Now what do I do? Like, do I fight? Do I run?
Exactly. It gives you no choice. And, you can be on one spectrum or the other, and you're still going to be condemned in one way or another. And there's no middle ground. There is no middle ground whatsoever, because either side will accuse you of being part of the other, even if you do try to find it. It's really hard. But all I will say, guys, is tomorrow I'm going to go there. Obviously, I ain't looking for trouble. I'm going to stand there. I'm going to proudly wear my union flag. Union flag, and I'll do my best to keep myself safe and those around me safe. I won't be looking for trouble, definitely, but I'm gonna be. I will make some videos and hopefully come back okay.
yeah, God willing. Wow.
I'll come back with some good stories to tell you. Not only that.
If you don't, particular Christian, if you don't come back, dips on your stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I'll definitely be saying a few prayers before I leave tomorrow.
Definitely. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's an invitation for our viewers. Please say some prayers for Patriotic Christian and all those involved, including our enemies, the instigators, and our leaders that have been pushing this on us and are going to do this with or without us.
Amen.
Yeah, let's pray for divine intervention. So this chaos that we're about to get thrown on us comes to an end quickly as possible.
Yeah,
it has to at some point, because this it can't go on much longer. We must realize now that multiculturalism as a whole, it's just failed, and it's okay. That's okay.
If I may, I agree, and I was gonna say one distinction is that multiculturalism works well when there's not Islamism involved. Here in America, people get along because there's not an ideology trying to take over and make it so that you speak in Arabic and you pray in Arabic, and only thing you do is read Arabic. It's not a, you can have your own little culture at home, and then when you go out, you meet other people, you talk to them, do business, go home. You're not
This needs to be made absolutely clear. when immigrants enter the UK, you are not. You will respect the culture. You will not cause problems.
Right.
Yeah, you need to assimilate. Period. If you don't do that, if you cause trouble, you're on probation. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
This is you see, like Saudi Arabia, for example. They do the same thing. If like a foreigner, for example, commits a crime, that's it, out. It's like they don't joke around, and as a result, the country's safe. It's the same thing with with Poland. You know what? Islam is not compatible with our society, and fine. And you know what? They turned out to be right. They turned out to be absolutely right, because they're safe. There's no terrorist attack. Low crime is rate. There's no rape. I mean, there is rape, of course, but I mean, it's like it's not as much as like Germany and France, and so yeah, they made the right call. You decided that you want to take the moral high ground, and look where it got you.
Let me jump in. Let me respond to a couple of things, and I just want to push back a little bit on a statement that was made earlier, and the whole idea that a religion is not really being pushed, or ideology. To be fair and honest, I don't think that's completely correct. Or I think, and what made America great to begin with, as we know it, that is, was not so much that it was non-Islamic or whatever, but the fact that it was founded by Christians. America is founded by Christians. The example that you brought up, Poland, Christian nation, dominantly Christian nation, the outspoken one.
I have something on this as well in a moment.
Yeah, so that's the big difference. I mean, when it comes to these didactic, divisive constructs that they push on us, black, white, left, right, male, female, UK, not UK, I'm sorry, but Ukraine, Russia, or Israel,
Palestine,
or Palestine. I mean, it's never ending, and that's by design. My response to all of it is, I'm not the middle ground. No, I'm with Christ.
Amen.
Amen.
I'm sorry. You wanted to add to that, Syrian Seeker?
Yes. I was going to say something I've come to realize and started to believe myself is that one of the antidotes for Islamism everywhere in general is orthodoxy and the belief in Christ, because it literally is the polar opposite of Islam. It answers the question whether or not, why is there a Messiah? Why do we do things? Like, what is it, like, eye for an eye? No, it's not eye for an eye. It's the idea that you don't go out and, murder people if you don't agree with them. Right. And the built-in grace, so to say, that Islam does not have. Forgiveness, like all these, again, like you said, Christian values. And I see, honestly, that being the solution if the people of Britain and America or any other place would want to become Orthodox. It could save the soul of their nation,
I just wanted to quickly say goodbye, and I shall speak to you all tomorrow, hopefully. Actually, no, it won't be tomorrow. It'll be Sunday evening. I'm hoping to come and do a live myself on Sunday evening. So, yeah. Or was I supposed to be doing one with you, Nico?
No, we're good. I've got that one covered. I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm just going to talk about my favorite topic, mass media messaging. Yeah. I've got a couple of folks involved. And and that, so we're good. But if you want to stop in, please come on in if you have time.
I'll see it. I'll definitely see. But yeah, guys, look after yourselves, and God bless you. And yeah, I'll speak to you all soon. And we'll definitely
You too,
have
man.
a panel.
I'm gonna pray for you.
Have a panel conversation, but I'll arrange it so I don't have to go to bed like literally 4 hours. Wake up 4 hours.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, take care, guys.
God bless.
You too.
God
bless you. Bye.
Christ is risen. Keep your news.
Please, so nasty.
All right. So, yeah, I'm a little disoriented right now. It's a little odd to start the stream speaking about the UK rally. Let's call it a rally tomorrow, and with the patriotic Christian now gone. I mean, I want to continue that theme and topic, but I don't know. What are we leaving out? Maybe I could talk about this meme. Yeah, let's talk about that diversity. This is one of the things that we'll definitely focus on again tomorrow. The buzzword, or as they themselves call it, dog whistle. It's literally a psychological trigger. It's something that's been embedded into our brains, rhetoric, that has a certain meaning, that's taken on a certain meaning, and it's not even a meaning that it's true to itself. And that literally, we call it gaslighting, or as I said, dog whistles. But what happens is when you hear diversity, you automatically, subconsciously think not white or not European, which is horrendous. When I put this together, this was back in 2017. So it's hard to remember because we've been through so much since. But this was quite a different idea for people. I mean, for me to say that we're going to do the things that we've done these past few years to people, they would have called me crazy. But this is exactly, in fact, in a comic book that I created where I called it the Civil Race War. That was the major plot, anyway. And I dedicated a 2-page panel to the January 6th insurrection years before it happened. So, I just basically was listening to mass media and seeing where they're pushing us towards. And this is it. I mean, look, if you want diversity, you got to respect the cultures that exist. And I'm not talking about skin tone. I think it's an affront for people to confuse skin tone with culture.
Yeah.
Right. So unfortunately, a lot of people do that. But in essence, I'm just talking about diversity. Look, it's biblical. We're going all the way back to the Old Testament, the Tower of Babel. God is the one that created diversity, if you are a believer.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, some people want to call that stuff poetic or whatever, legend. I'm not a big fan of doing that. I believe in the Holy Spirit. I believe in miracles. I believe in God. So I'm not going to call that poetic legend.
Amen.
So if we're going to respect God and what he wants for us, and what he wants for us, I think, is a beautiful thing. I love culture. I love going to my Chinese restaurant. I love going to my Thai restaurant. I love going to my Jamaican restaurant, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But what happens is when we mash it all together and we're all eating fabricated hot dogs and hamburgers, and we're all mulatto, and we're all speaking the same language, and we all have this, well, I don't know what God is. It's nature, it's the universe.
Yeah.
Kind of idea.
Wishy-washiness.
Yeah. We're lost. We're lost, and then we're left to the devices of those that are in charge now that are dictating things. And so this graphic demonstrates that. You know, the first one is, of course, respect to people and their identity, truly allowing them to maintain that identity, as long as it's not toxic, like Islam.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think one thing you could kind of you could parallel is that when you see, you know, a Jewish person practicing their faith, they're not going out trying to convert all their neighbors and, you know,
right.
But then it's the exact opposite with Islam. It's like, well, my neighbors, maybe they'll become Muslim one day. Maybe they'll hear how good I am, and then they'll be Muslim. But it's a different thing. It's the same kind of idea with like with Christianity as well, where like you can be a Christian and be Chinese and Vietnamese, or from Alaska, or like Native American. Like you can keep your culture. As an Islamist, you turn your culture into Islamism.
Yeah, it's I liked the picture of the beads that are the same color, the global Islamism picture.
Yeah,
and it's basically this is exactly how the Saudi society was before 2015. We were all supposed to be a single identity, a single culture, and it's not even Arabic culture. It's not. No, it's Islam. That's it. Everything else is rejected, and so are you expecting that sort of mentality to want to assimilate, to want to get along, to coexist? No.
Yeah. And that's the problem. We mentioned earlier how people are afraid of retaliation from Muslims, and that's why they don't speak up. That, unfortunately, for some, is part of it. And I know that because I've heard people say that. Well, for example, I've got involved in stopping an incident on a bus where an old man was being robbed by apparent Muslim refugees, young guys, a couple of young bucks. And I had a fatwa put out on me, but nothing that I was warned about happened. They didn't pull out a knife to stab me or anything to that effect. They didn't blow up. They didn't pull out their secret hidden bomb or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
So, in fact, quite the opposite. There was two of them. Usually, when you push back on a Muslim that's kind of walking into a place and bullying people around, they automatically cower. They instantly cower. It's almost always the case. In my experiences, it's always been the case. And I hear that from a lot of other people, so I feel that's common. But in this case, there's a couple of people, nothing happened. So I'm just putting it out there just to inform people. Don't buy into the mass media rhetoric. Like, oh, you know what? The fear-mongering is their biggest instrument. Fear is an instrument of Satan.
Yeah. I agree.
So,
amen.
Yeah, don't exactly. Amen. Have your faith. Do your little prayer and speak up, and that makes all the difference. Yeah, I had a point with that. I went off on all these tangents, but I lost my train of thought. To be honest with you, I hate when that happens. But so going back to this meme here, I don't want to get off on a tangent. Speaking of which, but just to touch on it, that whole what we call liberalism, left, whatever, mass media monism is what I call it. That coarse demographics, that quote unquote multiculturalism, that other buzzword. How is that a respect for cultures when you're taking these clearly diverse cultures and you're mashing them all together and making them one culture, and everyone now is a rainbow?
Yeah.
Where's the diversity in that? And then, as you said yourself, when it comes to Islamism, now everyone's got to be a Muslim.
Yeah, but Nicodemus, I'll tell you something. It's a hard truth, but the only culture that is being coerced and being erased is the European culture, is the Western culture, the white Caucasian culture, basically in America. Right. That is the culture that's being told that you should disappear.
Right. Can I sorry, go ahead.
But because we're not like I said, we're not telling the Japanese to take in people from everywhere. We're not telling Saudi Arabia to take in Christians and build churches. We're not telling anyone to do anything. Yeah, we should. It's like if we're all doing globalism, then everyone should do globalism. Don't just. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, well, maybe not even that. I mean, just allow the ones that still exist there to still exist. I mean, even that is enough to make a great change. Or am I speaking out of turn here?
No. That's absolutely right. I agree.
Yeah. But yeah. So the whole thing is that, yeah, I just don't want to confuse again skin tone. To me, like as a Greek, and I've talked about this in other streams, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, as I say, overdo it. But for the sake of this conversation, putting it into perspective, what I realized about Greece, and this is kind of weird, it might surprise you to hear that I had to realize this as an adult. But being raised in the States, I wasn't raised with this mindset, realizing that Greece is a Christian nation. When I went to study there and experienced it, man, I fell in love. Didn't want to leave. And I experienced, I don't want to say too much, but basically, in essence, a Christian culture so deeply ingrained that even in a historical economic crisis, as their nation was being overrun by Muslims, their historical enemy, people would still greet each other with "Glory be to God." How are you doing? Glory be to God. So much so that I've seen, now I'm going to take it off in a tangent, just so you can understand that anti-Christian evil is universal, regardless of skin tone or ethnicity or culture or whatever. That anti-Christian spirit is all the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've seen Germans, and Germans are pretty white. So I've seen Germans literally turn red and get angry that the facts can possibly be happy. I know, forgive me, I don't mean to take us off on a tangent, but I want to touch on the spirit that Islam is doing, the things that it's doing. And what is its target? What is its goal? Its goal is to undermine Christianity. And you do that through Christian nations, through European nations, through America. These are fundamentally Christian nations. Now, I know you guys, you're from the Middle East, and historically, those were literally the first Christian nations. But unfortunately, these days, we don't see them that way.
Yeah, Syria used to be Christian dominant, and the Islamic conquest basically converted it to Islam. So, and so there is by the way, there is a village, I forgot its name, in Syria, that's like in a remote mountains. And they still speak Aramaic, the language of Jesus Christ. And so and so what did ISIS and all the Islamists did when they when the war started? They went into that village. They desecrated holy places. They demolished churches, and it's like and so. The thing is that it's a war against Christianity, because Christianity was the only religion that kept Islam at bay, kept Islam from invading the entire world.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because, Muhammad, you remember the verse that says that Allah is the protector of mosques, synagogues, and churches?
Not sure.
I can't remember which verse it was exactly, but it's funny because as soon as Islamists take control, they immediately disregard that verse.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
they're like, oh well, it's Allah's will that we destroy these churches and their icons.
Yeah, there is this Islamist Muslim Brotherhood guy in Egypt. The video is in Arabic. So this guy basically says he published a book, and it was sanctioned by the Azhar. The Azhar is the Egyptian Islamic Authority, and basically he was saying that any church built after Islam, basically conquers the nation, any church built after should be demolished. So. Basically, he said that, and he used like verses, hadiths, and all of that, and so it's in the Islamic world. It was never about. They never coexisted. They kept the Christian and Jews and all other religions. They kept them as less than 10th degree citizens, and so But yeah, if it wasn't for the Christians of Europe, Europe would have been overtaken, and now they had a change of strategy. They thought, you know what, we could overtake Christianity. We could eliminate Christianity by going to these nations and just producing like rabbits, and then one day we will be like 50%, and that's it. And it would be funny then, because the leftist, the woke leftist, would be the first one to get thrown off the roof.
Yeah.
Right.
I was gonna say, it's funny to me because if there were no Christians and Jews, how would Muslims get to heaven? Like because the hadith about, Allah doesn't save a Muslim except for he takes a Muslim or a Jew and puts them in the hellfire in their stead. That's
oh my God,
literally the way that they get to heaven. So there has to be Muslims and Jews around, otherwise nobody can. And I think that's the big shyster thing about Islam, is that you really see, like, it took me slowly to realize that it kind of is the anti-Christian world religion, because it completely, Christ is not Christ in Islam. There is no salvation except for through Allah. And if you read about it and go deep enough, you realize that it's not actually just, oh, he forgives me.
Right.
It's more of there's a give and take. There's always a debt. And wait, why would there be a debt in Islam when they say that it's completely fine and that you'll go to heaven if you, become a martyr, or if you, do good deeds? That's not true.
Yeah.
No, killing the disbelievers is a form of worship in Islam.
Yep. Yeah.
And so it's just a very sick mentality that you worship God by killing others.
Yeah. I think it's sorry, you go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you please go ahead.
Oh, I think it's really the grace of Christ that people like us can see when we're in it, and even come out of it either slowly or quickly, is that like something happens where something in you speaks to you and is like, this isn't right. Something's not okay here. I don't know what it is. It's my morals. It's, something. Later I found out it was Christ. Like, just the fact that there's such a violent streak there, things are, like that. And I think there's actually, I don't know if you've seen recently, there's a big movement of Muslims leaving Islam and becoming Christian, either Catholic or Orthodox. And I don't know why, but it seems like it's almost like the spirit is moving, that similar like anti-spirit in Islam, which is like trying to take over the world. There's another, let's call it the Holy Spirit, let's call it, God through Christ doing like the will, is saving people slowly who are stuck in it, or who are, like they were blind before, now they see.
Amen. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're touching on that. It's just so easy, especially in these circles, and I hate to admit, especially with you guys, but just for the record, I've got a good Palestinian friend who, by the way, is MIA. He's been gone for months, completely disappeared. Him and his daughter. I can't say names, and I think I've said enough as it is, but I fear, God forbid, but I fear that he's disappeared for a reason. But
yeah.
But some of the conversations that I've had with him later on, after this picture that, by the way, that you're seeing in the background. Okay, by the way, I'm sorry I'm jumping around, but let me just, now that I've got this picture up, Muslims are doing jihad on other Muslims too. But yeah, but as far as the international community and genocide and ethnic cleansing and all these things, and the United Nations allegedly supposed to be, the vanguard of Africa. In Nigeria alone, since 2000, 62,000 Christians have been killed by Muslim extremists.
Wow.
62,000. That is a Holocaust. Where are
Yeah.
all the movies about that?
Yeah. By the way, Muslims, they everything they say against Jews, Christians, it's literally a projection. They would say, "Oh, Israel is genociding people in Gaza." Well, what did they do on October 7th? They went and with the intention to destroy all Jews, and if they were not stopped by the IDF, they would have just went to finish the job completely. So everything they say is a projection. They did ethnic cleansing in Nigeria. The Turks, every European country they occupied, they ethnically cleansed the Christians, and they forced the conversions, and they burned some of them and alive, and so
I have a picture of that, but maybe I should share that. I don't know.
Yeah, why do you think the Greeks were so pissed with the Ottoman Empire in World War I? Because they tormented the Greeks for a few centuries, and so they cry. They say, I mean, you try to fight back, and when you try to fight back, you're ethnically cleansing us. Well, I'm not trying to ethnically cleanse you. I'm trying to kind of put a stop to your madness.
Yeah. Let me just say, Osama Doc got involved in The Art of Imposture, and there's another documentary, and they're coming up with a third one now. I'm honestly not the biggest fan of these things because, we're people. We're not supposed to be bombarded with all this insane evil. But that being said, I am not going to bombard you, but I'm going to share an image of what you mentioned. I believe we're talking about the same incident. Maybe not. I mean, this is unfortunately quite common. But viewer discretion advised. If you're very sensitive, I'm going to show you a very graphic image right now of Christians who were burned alive in Africa. Okay? So put your children away, and if you're sensitive, tune out for a half a minute, and I'll take it off. Here we go. All right. So there's your visual proof, and that's all I really want to. Yeah. I mean, that's all I want to flash.
The people standing, are those the Islamists, or?
Let me look at the picture. I don't want to expose my audience too much to that.
Yeah.
There's soldiers standing there. It looks like civilians. Yeah, they're just authorities. I can't tell if they're Muslim. I don't think they're Muslims. No, they're just. I mean, there's no telling, but you can't really say they're Muslims or not. They're just soldiers and police and citizens of that community standing around trying to take care of the aftermath. It's quite disturbing. And again, this is just one incident of nonstop in one nation.
Yep.
Where is the United Nations on this, among others?
Oh, doing something important.
Yeah.
And the ICJ doesn't really care about the 60,000 Nigerian Christians that died. They don't care about the Yazidi women that were kidnapped and they were sold as sex slaves. By the way, there is one Yazidi girl. A video recently started appearing, and it was an interview with a Yazidi girl in Gaza, and she was sold. She was kidnapped in Iraq by ISIS, and somehow she is in Gaza right now. So it just shows you that Hamas and ISIS is exactly the same thing, and most of these jihadi groups they're not that different. Even the Taliban, even all of these, and so it's absolutely horrendous. These pictures, these images are not very uncommon.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's insane. I want to share something we've talked about. Patriot Christian and I touched on this with Paul Sutliff. A great stream. Unfortunately, okay, so this is the actual video that we did, the streaming. You should check that out if you haven't already. But basically, this is in Texas. It was in a Christian complex. A woman who is identified as Muslim by some online sources, who had Free Palestine etched on her weapon by other online sources, who had a head covering, and was shouting, "I have a bomb! I have a bomb!" When the police had finally shot her and stopped her for a bit, but they were trying to approach her to disarm her and give her aid, but she was saying, "No, I have a bomb." She's basically telling them, "Go away, I have a bomb," and she kept shooting at him.
Holy shit!
Yeah, they finally put an end to her life because they had to, but unfortunately, now the video starts. Let me jump back here actually, so you guys can see it. Yeah, let me zoom out. Sorry. Okay, so just so you can see how crazy this video is, man. It's she actually starts by pulling up to this church, and goes to the back seat to pull her child out, and she brings her child in to this Christian complex to start shooting at people, using her child as a human shield, evidently.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and at the 15-minute marker, you can see one angle of that, how she basically pulls a child who's now hiding as the bullets are flying in this corridor, and she pulls him out.
Holy.
Oh yeah, I can't. Sorry. Yeah, it's a different video. Yeah, I'm showing you guys the video of the live stream we did. But you can see the poor kid hiding as his mother is a couple of steps away shooting at people. And yeah, now he's reaching out for her because it's his mother. He doesn't know what to do. And he goes back in. And in a little bit, she'll step back out and she pulls him out. You see this cop to the left, he's coming around and now he's shooting. Right? He can't see the kid. He doesn't know there's a kid there. It's in the corridor. It's out of his line of sight. Allegedly, I can't prove that, but from that angle, you can imagine that it's because it's a circular corridor, so it's out of his sight. And she'll jump out with kid in hand while she's shooting. Now, this is in Texas, folks. This is in Texas. I mean, yeah, this is exactly why Patriot Christian is getting involved, and all those people are getting involved. Because this is not only coming to a theater near you, it's already there. And so people have to, yeah, they have to speak up. They have to respond. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. There is, I lost my train of thought. So,
sorry, yeah.
I lost the idea. I'll remember it.
Oh, yeah. I was just basically saying how, yeah, people have to speak up. This is spread. This idea that, and again, media's covering it up, but we still hear incidents in the United States all the time through the years of this shooting and that shooting, the Boston Marathon bomber, and on and on and on. So,
I was gonna say, leftists in the United States, they would say if there is if there is any shooting, like ban weapons, remove the Second Amendment, and so you look at every time a rape happen, every time this predator from the Islamic world comes and does what they do. And so no one really in the left is shedding light and saying, hey, look, that there is a real threat. There is a real rising threat of radical Islam, and we should confront it. No, it's always with leftists attacking Christians, And nowadays, their new hobby is to attack Jews.
Yeah.
A hobby, well, good word. Yeah, it's become fashionable, unfortunately, which unfortunately kind of conflicts with my own work, because I don't want to get off on another tangent, but I've made a lot of discoveries about that topic, who founded Hollywood and this and that and the other. And I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into a tangent, but
I know what you mean.
yeah. Let me just sum up that by saying two wrongs don't make a right. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. I mean, yeah, you nailed it. I mean, it has become fashionable to hate on Jews. The same people that were going on and on about the Holocaust, all of a sudden are Holocausters.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I thought that was very interesting. After October 7th happened, there was a lot of like leftist people I knew that went from being like in the middle to being either one side or one other. Obviously, during that time, I was still very like radicalized, I would say. But it's interesting to see how one thing can happen and then immediately everyone switches their minds, like they forgot the last 100 years of history,
or yesterday. They forgot what happened yesterday.
Yeah. Like what happened yesterday? Oh, I don't know. It just matters what happens today.
October 7th. Who cares? You know,
It's like
free
about
Palestine.
it's like about feelings now. It's about like how you feel in the moment, and then you express it, and then after that, whatever.
Whatever's viral. Let me show a clip from a movie that I love. We had to watch it as a class project at uni, of all things. But it's called Wall-E. Wall-E. It's a Disney movie. Or it's a Pixar film. Same difference. I don't usually promote Disney.
I love that movie.
Oh, you've seen it? All right. So for those who have it, let's share this clip real quick.
A for Appium, your sweet home. B is for by and large, your very best friend.
Time for lunch. In a cup. Attention, Axiom shoppers. Try blue. It's the new red.
Ooh. Okay, that's pretty much sums up what's been going on in society this past decade. Thanks to cell phone.
Definitely. Yeah.
Thanks to the old mobile www, which, by the way, www is vav phonetically, which is the numerical equivalent in Hebrew. The characters also have a numerical value, and that it just so happens vav has the numerical value of 6.
They love that. They love that number.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they put it in front of all the radio stations and all that. It's quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, so when I speak to Arabs online, and then Muslims mostly, because 93% of Arabs are Muslim anyway. So when I speak to Muslims online, especially about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, well, if you speak with them in English, they will be like, oh, we're being genocided and we're being targeted and all of that. And then when you actually talk to them in Arabic, when you know they start praising Hitler. A lot of them,
I've seen that in English actually as well.
Yeah, no. Some of them don't hold back. I mean, some of them. It's becoming anti-Semitism is becoming more and more acceptable, because it just became a trend. But yeah, like they praise Hitler. They say the Holocaust should have the work is incomplete. And basically, someone like Hitler should come and finish the job, and they say all of that, and that's that's how Islamists think. I mean, that's how they act.
It's funny too, because in World War II in Germany, they actually executed and put Muslims in concentration camps as well, because they didn't really care if you were Jewish or Muslim. Just the fact that you weren't Christian or German or white,
Well,
or
I
part of
mean,
the Aryan.
actually, I've got to push back on that too. As a Greek, I don't think Christians also were targeted. Just
Oh, yeah, that's true.
for the record.
Yeah,
Maybe I meant more German and Aryan.
yeah, it was more about the Aryan race. And I mean, the funny thing is, they're praising Hitler, and Hitler saw us Arabs as subhuman. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
well,
know, we were just sand N-word, you know.
yeah. I saw a
Basically.
very interesting video. It was Hitler visiting, I think it was Saudi Arabia, and he was talking about if the German people created a religion other than Christianity or had another religion, they wished it would be Islam because of the ideological prowess.
Because of the jihad, Hitler
Yes,
really,
yes.
really admired, because that's how it is. That's how the idea was in the Nazi party, that there's glory in battle and conquest, and that just really resonated with Hitler. You know, I mean, the fact that it was in Islam really resonated with Hitler. So that's why he went in 1932. He went to the British Mandate of Palestine, and he met with Amin Husseini, the Mufti of Palestine, and basically Amin Husseini told him, "Yeah, you really should do it, and we will help you."
Yeah,
And,
I remember that. I heard about that.
Yeah, and so the thing is that it's so strange how all these different groups, communists, Nazis, Muslims, and Palestinians were always big fans of Nazis, to begin with.
Pagans. Sorry, I love how Nico says that. Just call me Nazi pagans is just such perfect. Yeah.
Nothing else touches, so I'm trying that one. But I think that nails it, right? I mean, who else?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. No pun intended.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's just so crazy how, because you know the reason they're all teaming up, because the end justifies the mean. And the funny thing is, we are growing up. They told us that Jews believe in the end justifies the mean, but it's all projection. I realized when I 3 years ago, I realized they were just projecting. They're the ones who believe the end justifies the mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're getting on all kinds of topics, which is definitely my speed. But since we're doing that, yeah, this whole topic of, basically it's going for a circle. I mean, this rally tomorrow is not just addressing Islam only, but addressing all these things, these top-down issues. And one of the things that, since we're talking about controversial topics, is the Georgia Guidestone. Have you guys heard of that one?
Yeah, isn't that the one that has the New World Order rules on it, or like the 10 commandments for the New World Order?
Yeah, I got to say, for a minute, I was a truck driver, over-the-road truck driver. I went from coast to coast. I spent some time in the South, in Georgia, and I remember one night I was driving around 4 a.m., which is the witching hour, completely dark. There was like no moon out. It was like pitch dark, and I was driving through the South. I believe it was the south, anyway, southern part of Georgia. I can't remember if it was southeast, southwest, southern part of Georgia somewhere. Nothing but woods on the freeway. Nobody out except for me. And about let's call it every 5 minutes or less, probably less than that, every few minutes, I was coming across this huge, like, let's call it a circle, or more like a pentagram, a massive pentagram-shaped fire in the middle of the woods. And that happened a few times. Yeah, it was super creepy.
If you want to talk about really creepy things that happen like on the continent of North America, I got tons of like ideas, but that's for another time, I think.
Okay,
but,
let's do that.
It's interesting to me that for some reason, actual people who are like practice witchcraft or like Satanism, actual Luciferian Satanism with the sacrifices and blood and all that, for some reason pick the wilderness of America to do it. It's very odd because near where, perhaps, so an area that I know of, there have been stories of hooded figures carrying like torches through the woods for miles of area where nobody lives.
I mean, look, at this point, I'm willing to believe. Well, I don't want to say that. I don't want to overstate it, but things have become more and more believable. Even the more outrageous they sound, the more believable they become, because that's the clown we're living. But this is again, you guys, you don't have to take my word for it, but I'm sharing with you something I actually witnessed, and there's no reason for me to make something like that up. The only reason I'm sharing that is because this whole Georgia Guidestone thing. It's a weird location to have something like that in Georgia, but maybe something is going on. Let's call it the Deep South. I don't know if Georgia qualifies for Deep South, but all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is interesting though, and you might be able to still look this up. That the Georgia Guidestones, there was video of the person doing it and of the vehicle, and the next day the police show up, and instead of putting police tape around everything so they can investigate the crime scene, they bring in a bulldozer the next morning to cover up the evidence. Why are you bulldozing the crime scene? What kind of police procedure is that?
There's the left has a known agenda. You know, there's something cooking because you know you would think that they're stupid, that they're just being fooled or something, but it's you know, there is something cooking, and it's not well.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I'm saying all these things because I want to kind of, from what I understand, the spirit that Tommy Robinson and his rally is, they're addressing this stuff as a Christian group, even though there's going to be some non-Christians joining their ranks.
Right.
And they're addressing the top-down issue, all these things that are empowering and paying for it and prompting and pushing this stuff for a long time. They're pushing back on that, which I think is a wonderful thing. But as we said, it's also scary because, I mean, they're going to have their aha moment. But I just feel like they're going to have their aha moment whether we get involved or not.
Yeah. It seems like no matter what happens, something's going to happen.
Yeah, it's either you know, either you deal with it gradually, or it's just going to end up in a big explosion, just a full-blown civil war. That's what's going to happen, because people are not going to put up with you know, with all this.
Yeah, I mean, and then the good book says, and I know some people take odds with this, but yeah, faith without works is dead. You know, so we can't just sit on our laurels and wait for the second coming. I mean,
yeah,
that's a pun. You know, I mean, that's forgive me for putting it like this, but that's a joke. What are you waiting for the second coming? Waiting for Christmas or so? You know? No.
There is Nicodemus. There is a joke, but about it's about rednecks. I heard it in a movie, but it's about waiting. You know, I mean, I love all the rednecks. You know, no problem. It's just that there is, and I love their accents. You know, I love their accents.
Well, let's just pretend that you're Jeff Foxworthy for a minute. Okay, people. Yeah. Imagine Muhammad Aurelius as Jeff Foxworthy. Go, Jeff Foxworthy.
Yeah. So the joke says, "What did Jesus tell to the rednecks?"
Oh God, I hate this joke already.
And basically, and he said to them, "Do nothing until I come back."
Oh no! Oh, that hurts. No.
But
give the Gospels a complaining. I just giving you a thumbs up. All right, so you pass. All right. Yeah, guys. So, I mean, I don't want to go on too much longer without the patriotic Christian here. It feels kind of odd. But I know you gave me a list earlier, Syrian Seeker, about things you wanted to cover. Did you want to touch on some of those?
Sure, yeah. While my phone is still alive, I have a list of things. So the first video is of a sheikh by the name of, let me see.
Do I need to show that video, or could we forego that just to make sure we don't get zapped? I can share the link in the just chat in the description. We can do it that way.
Definitely some kind of form of Salafi. Essentially, the whole video is Islam in the West, but it's from the point of view of Muslims. So what the Ummah wants to do in the West. And a lot of it is having to do with, you know, trying to be a better person in their own view and then make other people want to be Muslim as well from that. But as we all know, that's not how it usually works out. So it's trying to change misconceptions, but in ways so that they're going to spread Islam. Everything will seem fine, probably, until Sharia is implemented, like every Islamic, nation. So it really seems to be that they think that they're doing good. And I noticed this even, with the Judaic stuff as well, that I look into many times. It's like rabbinic or kind of talks where it's like tikkun olam, we're trying to heal the world, right, through deeds. It's the same idea in America, but with Islam. So it's like they're trying to, quote unquote, heal the country or what they see our values are, like, conservatively, with Islam. So they say, oh, like, instead of combating them and just talking, like being like, oh, you're a kafir, they're gonna like try to assimilate, but then build institutions and build like madrasas, Quran places, but also businesses that are what seem to be secular. The idea with that is that eventually the people who are non-Muslim, or as he calls them, kafirs, will be forgotten. So, and I think one of the worst things I think is kind of funny about this Islamic utopia is that there will be just terrible nasheed music everywhere. Like playing in malls, like, like, because new music is haram, so like you're gonna be walking in like a mall and be like, oh no, not again.
Syrian,
What you talking about?
Yeah, so the one of the stories I have actually is about King Najashi of Abyssinia. He uses this in the actual video, and he was a convert to Islam in the beginning when the Prophet was being chased out of Mecca. And so it shows in the video he's talking about the long game that the first Muslims play. They don't go in fighting. They don't subjugate everyone first. They first, invite people. They first, try to be pious in the face of people. It's a very like pharisaical idea that you're gonna do good things in front of people so that they'll think that you're pious and they believe like what you believe.
That's by the way, that's exactly what my mother told me when I left. When I first left to Canada, she said, you should like be really nice. Act really nice so that people there can come to Islam.
Yeah.
And it's like you're not going to be a nice person for the sake of being nice. You're going to be nice just so that you can trick people into your sick religion.
An ulterior motive, if you will. I think also it says that an example that he uses, which is interesting, that he didn't see the fact he was saying it, but he was really alluding to the fact that Islam is only peaceful when they are the minority. This is because of the law of Sharia is eventually violent. So just like if you go to, you know, like Brooklyn in a Hasidic area, you'll hear about people being, you know, hunted down and attacked because they don't want to do their religion anymore. It's very similar. They have these courts systems, and that's what happened, I guess, in Abyssinia, is that eventually they took over, not completely, because we know to this day it's not completely Islamic, Ethiopia, but what happened is that they took over, first being peaceful, then started implement, you know, religion, and then they got converts. When they get converts, everyone starts to, you know, have a bigger pull in their area and the region. And this example is given how there's no like freedom after that point, because originally Abyssinia was a Christian nation, and even Muhammad, he talked about the king being a very just king. In the talk that the sheikh gives, he's talking about how, oh, even our prophet said that he was such a just king even though he was Christian, which is interesting because, again, in Islam there's the concept of you can be good. It's possible for you to be innately good, which I don't know how they got that, but you know.
By the way, the same story happened in India. Yes. Islam entered India because they tried conquest in the beginning and they failed. And eventually, merchants started flooding India. And they brought with them Islam. And so this has happened many times. Whenever they fail at forceful conversion by military means, they would do sneaky stuff, you know, like come as merchants, come as immigrants, and then
Taqiyya.
Yes, taqiyya.
Yeah.
Lying for the sake of Islam. That's what that means, Nico.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I looked that up the other day, and the first person I saw, I'm gonna do it again just for fun, is the sheikh. He's another very prominent American sheikh. So I'll do it. His face is right up there. This poor man. It's not happening now. Where is he? I know him because I used to watch his lectures all the time. He seems very, very nice and very peaceful.
Oh, you're talking about Sheikh. He has an institute, right?
Yes, the Yaqeen Institute. Yeah.
Yaqeen Institute. Yes. Okay.
Where's it's not, his face is not coming up.
Omar. His name is Omar. His name is Sheikh Omar.
Yes, Omar. I used to watch his during Ramadan. I would watch his Life of the Prophet series, and
when
that's part of the brainwashing, I guess.
Yes, Seeker. When did you accept Christ exactly?
Yeah, so his face was right up there when I looked up Taqiyya. That was interesting. And so it's a license to lie. And basically, it's okay to lie to the kafir if you're promoting Islam. There's another concept as well, which is in Judaism, which is it's okay to, you know, shyster or like do bad business with people who are Gentiles because they're not believers or they're not, you know, kosher. It's very similar. So I'll go back to my list, but it's the same kind of idea that it's okay to do these things because they're not believers. And the idea is trying to make them by lying, which is in of itself interesting because in the Quran it says Allah is the best of deceivers. I found that interesting. Yeah. In the Quran, it says numerous times that he's the best of deceivers, and I forgot the word that was used, but it's not even deceiver. It's like conniver, shyster, liar, outright liar. My father lies basically in the Bible, which was one of the first instances where I was like, maybe my God isn't really who he says he is.
Maybe I'm a Satanist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if you had that realization as well, but it was.
Oh
very
yes,
gratifying
yes.
to me. Yeah.
Sirensika, you should listen to the previous interview the previous stream that we had about my
Yes,
story.
I
So
will do that. Yes.
yeah, I mean, just listen to the part where I tell my transition, sort of from Islam to atheism to Christianity, and so the moment that I realized that Allah was basically evil, it was a very shocking moment. It was shaking.
Yeah.
Because it's you can't see it until you see it, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it.
I think what was scary for me is that the spirit of what I was when I would pray. I remember this so many times is that my children would start climbing on me, and I would get really angry, like to the point of like wanting to hurt them because of the religion, like wanting them to be good Muslims or and I realized that spirit was the evil spirit. Like I realized that like after looking back on how I used to behave, how I used to pray, how I used to do things, is that it is satanic, but actually like satanic, not like how people claim to be Luciferian or claim to like pentagrams and metal music. It's like a religion set up so they will trick you completely, falling in love with it so that you fight for it, die for it, and then you go to hell.
Yeah.
It's sad to me, honestly, that so many good people usually get trapped in it and stuck. But I think that's where the gospel really comes in and can actually save a lot of people, because it's the truth and it's the antidote to it. But like I was saying, I'm going on a tangent. I have some other things. So in that sort of in the video, he explains on how people should operate doing these things, the sheikh again, in like reforming the self, then the family, then the neighborhoods, then the society, which is kind of like the idea, or they think at least, is like, be nice to people and, like we said. And I think the interesting part is where it comes into Islamic rule. And that's when it would be, like they have in the UK with the different courts and stuff like that. It's very regimented. It's very unfeeling. It's the spirit. It's the letter of the law and not the spirit of the law.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Another the stuff that he basically says is, Allah says, and do good, because verily Allah loves those who do good. Verily Allah has commanded you upon justice for your wives, your husband, your children, justice in society, and what kind of justice is in the society. And he makes this basically, like I sent to you, Nico, Adda wa ifsan, goodness and sacrifice, I think. Basically the idea that they need to go through hardships to make Islam a staple in America. And I believed in this actually heavily when I was Muslim. I believed that I wanted to make my family Muslim. I wanted to make my coworkers Muslim. And where it stopped is when I was inviting my manager to Islam, basically. I was going to invite him to my house. I don't know why I had this thought, but it popped in my head. And I was like, what if I'm misguiding him? I don't know why I thought that. I was really into it. So the fact that I thought that, I was like, how am I having this thought? Like, I shouldn't be thinking this way. That's not a good Muslim. I need to go pray more. My iman is down. I need to go watch more videos. That's the thing, is like, what's really weird is that you'll see a lot of Muslims in the comments being like, oh, brother, I can't pray. I haven't prayed. Pray for me. I haven't prayed in like 5 days. And then people will comment like, you'll get through it, brother, or like stuff. And then they'll be like, go watch these Quran videos, which are very visual, which is funny because it's not supposed to be visual at all, but it's very visual, like videos from the Yaqeen Institute or from these other channels, right? And I would do this daily. I was obsessed with these videos. I would go and just watch a whole bunch of talks from sheikhs where they have like these beautiful backgrounds, the annoying nasheed music. But that's the sort of thing that happens is when your iman is down, you have to.
Oh, okay. We lost.
Nick, yeah, we lost him. I just, until he comes back, I have a confession. I converted like 4 people to Islam when I was like 15, and I really pray to God that they find their way out if they haven't already. But yeah, it's a Ponzi scheme. It's like a pyramid scheme. You get screwed in this faith, and then you just spread that satanic ideas into, you spread the curse into others.
So the confession, from what I understand you're saying, is that you helped other people come closer to God, or come to God, however you want to look at it.
No, I didn't. It certainly, I tricked them. Without realizing, I just parroted whatever was, because 2 of them were Christian, but they were Filipino Christians, and they were really ignorant about them. And
so
they were really.
Sorry, but this was just so I can clarify, because I didn't catch. So you're saying basically when you were a Muslim, you brought people to Islam?
Yes, I did, 4 of them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So it sucks, but I use the same trickery that what's his name, Ahmed Deedat. You know Ahmed Deedat, right? The Muslim debater. Zakir Naik, I use the same, kind of taking out of context, sort of exploiting the people's
ignorance.
Ignorance, yes.
Yeah, I don't mean to be ugly, but I mean literally not knowing the truth.
Yes. So once I actually accepted Christ, I looked back at it and I realized everything I said was BS. And I don't know how I believed it back then, but it's the same as what a Syrian seeker was saying, that, you feel like you're tricking people, but at the same time, you're told that you're righteous, you're told that your God is with you, and it's just like Islam is like a placebo. You're told that this is supposed to get you closer to God. This is supposed to make you a better person.
Right.
But only people who are really self-conscious and they have a heart, they can, because reality contradicts with what you're believing. You believe you're a good person, but your actions do not really reflect that, and that's what going to jihad. That's exactly what almost happens. I almost became a tool of the devil in this world. But at the time, I thought I was really doing it out of goodness, and there is a saying for Voltaire. He says, a religion that, someone who can make you believe in absurdities can make you commit atrocities. And that's the trickery part of how these Dawah guys convert people through trickery.
Yeah. I mean, that's as the popular expression goes in these circles, without lies, Islam dies. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? And then, as I can't remember if it was Hadith or Quran, but the line that says, if Allah deceives you, then it's your fault.
Yeah. You're basically a bad person. That's why you were misled, and you were destined all along to hell. And so this, regardless of the fact that I converted people, I tried to do good, I loved my religion, it doesn't matter. I was destined to hell. This is why I'm Christian now. This is how these Muslims they look at it. That yeah, you were just a Muslim. You were just like an evil person, and yeah, you really don't know my heart. But this is basically the assumption that is injected into Muslims' brain, that if you reject Islam, you are automatically, inherently a terrible person. I told you the story of my uncle and what he did, to like with the rape and all the stuff that he did, and this is a very common story, because we get deceived. We think just because this person is Muslim, they are good. They are, they have the best interest of their Muslim brothers at heart. And yeah, guess what? It really, this religion is not from God, and this therefore does not really protect you from doing evil things. Unlike Christianity, with Christianity, the more you try to uphold the word of God, you find yourself becoming a blessing to those around you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a total mind eft. Like the sort of religion. It tricks the believer. It tricks those around them. It's just all based on trickery, and that's why they have the taqiyya principle. I don't get it. I don't understand why didn't I see that before. But it's the same story with the Syrian seeker. We didn't see it. We just could not see it.
Well, but you did. Eventually you did, because you had your open heart, and you're willing to listen when God intervened. And so when that happens, you took that leap of faith, and a powerful one it is to leave Islam, as we know, and you know it better than many of us. It's not an easy thing, to say the least.
Yeah.
Let me just say, as far as repentance, without getting into what your religion is and all that, look, I'm not going to speak for God, but when you're doing the things that you're doing and you pull people away from Christ and into Islam, in your heart, or at least in your mind, you believed that you were doing the right thing and that Allah was God. But now that you know differently, I can at least sympathize, if not empathize, with you, to the degree that, I once had a calling to serve in the church as a deacon. That's too much information, but just so you'll understand, I can appreciate that feeling. I mean, I had a panic attack, well, arguably twice in my life. And the one time was when the seminarian cross was put on me without my even being aware that was going to happen. And I suddenly felt the weight of being responsible for other people's salvation put on me. And I went and had a panic attack. I literally had to leave the building. But the thing is that, look, it's one thing to sin and to atone for it, as I say. It's another to lead others into
astray.
Lead others astray. Yeah. So how do you fix that? And that's a problem. And it's something that, for someone who actually cares, someone who really genuinely loves God, it weighs heavy on your heart.
Yeah, it's when I read the messages of Paul and the story of Paul, I found hope that yes, I did terrible things, leading people astray. Even if it was a single person, that's you don't have the right to roam in people's lives, especially if you're not in your right mind, if you're not really balanced, and you mislead people. And so, well, why am I talking to you? Why am I talking to patriotic Christians? Because I feel guilty, and I would like to atone for my sins. It's
Right.
so I would like in the future to lead more people to Christ. And I will pray. I will pray for those people that I've misled in the past. And it's yeah. So it's Paul did the same thing. He did terrible things. He oppressed the believers, and but what he did after, everything he did after he found Christ, was to make things right, and that's what I'm doing now.
Amen. Yeah, and let me talk to you, explore that further offline on Skype.
Okay,
I'd love to
absolutely.
talk about that. Yeah, long story short, for those who might be listening and might be interested in, well, how do I actively do that? Atonement, acts of atonement. That's definitely something. At least we get out of the movie Gandhi. That was a really big theme in that movie. But there is something else, and it is called confession. Unfortunately, some people blaspheme confession, but let me tell you, as someone who's partook of it and benefited from it greatly, it's an experience I highly encourage for those that are spiritually wounded and need that kind of healing to reach out to a father confessor. Hopefully, you're in a faith that provides that. And if not, hopefully you can find a clergyman that is willing to practice some economia, because otherwise you have to be baptized and receive communion in these faiths, whether you're Catholic, Orthodox. I don't know if other Protestant denominations practice confession or not, but yeah, I would encourage you to seek someone out for that type of healing. It is beyond words. It's something that I encourage everyone to do. But for those that are suffering in that way, instead of allowing something to eat at you and maybe take you further down the snake hole, to address and allow God to forgive you. So,
absolutely, amen.
Yeah, I feel like I cut you off somehow. No? Okay, so...
No, you didn't.
Okay. So, it looks like we've lost Syrian Seeker there, and Patriotic Christian is hopefully getting some Z's, though he's got to be, probably nervous about this big day tomorrow. It's a big build-up, and let's, again, as a reminder, everyone, our prayer warriors out there, say some prayers for everyone that's going to be involved in tomorrow's get together.
And I just want to say something.
Yes,
this rally, or whatever you call it, it's not just for Christians. It's to save, because we as Christians, there's the story of the Samaritan, and that helped that guy, and Jesus, when Jesus told him that Samaritan, that guy who's not a Jew, is your brother. So we're what we're doing here is that we're trying to make life better for everyone, not just for us Christians, but for our neighbors, because we love all of humanity. And so where the leftists failed Christians, they failed everyone. There's people who still wants to do right, who still wants to save, save the nation, save humanity, save the world from these very toxic, very dangerous ideologies. And I'm not attacking all Muslims, even though the faith sucks. But those who are misled, I hope they find Christ one day. But we're trying to save everyone from these toxic, dangerous ideologies that respects no freedom, respects no faith, and they just want to see the world burn.
Yeah, that sums it up really well. Thank you for that. That's great. I mean, I was going to ask if you had any closing thoughts in a moment, but yeah, that's fantastic. But let me just add to that a little bit. Of course, Jesus Christ is victorious. Jesus Christos Nika. Christ is risen. We already know these things. There's, I mean, in all reality, especially if you have your faith, there's nothing that they can do to us short of taking us away from God that can do us any harm. Now, when they take us away from God, when we give in to these worldly beliefs, we start getting wishy-washy and all these things, yeah, that's a problem. Then we become the lost sheep. And yeah, that is the only thing you should fear. Outside of that, yeah, I mean, just brush all this evil off. Take it for what it is. It's going to come to pass. Jesus Christ says this too shall come to pass. Yeah. So all these crazy things will happen. Yeah, but don't let it get to you. As we see, all you have to do is step out of their way, and they will self-destruct with or without you. I mean, that's why Christ tells us to dust our feet, to pluck out, cut off, and dust our feet. At some point, when you see, and not just for Muslims, but for all the lost, when they're toxic and they're beyond reproach, they're beyond help, then you've got to make the right decision and do what's best for yourself and everyone around them and remove them.
Amen. That's correct.
Yeah. So to that end, there are people that continue on all levels to fight that fight, like our good friend here, Muhammad Aurelius, Syrian seeker, patriotic Christian, so many others online. The people in chat, I mean, God bless you for your support. You have no idea how much that means to us. I mean, that is why we are here. And so these other things, these people that have done things like fought the lockdown and all these other things, that continue to do so, by the way, even though mass media is not covering it, is hiding those things from you, they still continue. So this is a message that was sent privately. It is talking about all the murder and so on. 80 Christian kids recently kidnapped from a Baptist school, held for ransom, and so on and so forth. So it's talking about how they're actively approaching the United Nations. They're demanding justice, real justice, not this multicultural, diverse, open-minded, all these buzzwords that we're going to cover tomorrow, by the way, but real, genuine, open-hearted love for others. Okay, so let me just read it here. Just hours ago, we filed 4 new legal submissions at the UN to defend our suffering Christian brothers and sisters, including those in Nigeria, demanding international intervention. And we're preparing to deliver an emergency oral intervention to the UN next week on behalf of Christians facing horror in Afghanistan. I mean, if you're Christian, let me just leave it at that. Then chances are you're on the right path. But just have faith, have an understanding that not only do we have Christ on our side, not only do we have everlasting life, if we genuinely even leave our sandals behind and follow Him, but we also have each other. We have people fighting for you and as we are doing here, fighting for each other. So it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before Satan completely fails, as happens time and again in all these corrosive anti-Christian societies. All right. Do you have anything else to add to that, Mohammed?
No. I was just wondering, tomorrow, if you would like me to join you, just let me know.
Okay, that'd be great. I'll send you a message on Skype, and let's talk afterwards on Skype, or anytime you're available. If you're not available afterwards, that's fine.
No, I'm available. Yeah, I'm available now.
So we'll talk about it. Talk about that afterward.
Okay.
Would I be putting you on the spot again if I asked you to close us out with a prayer?
Sorry, I didn't memorize it, the Arabic one.
Okay. Well, in English and Arabic, but all right. So you got your homework for you, buddy.
Yeah. No. I'm going to memorize that. I read it. The same prayer that you read last time. Give us our daily, the one where give us our daily bread. And but I still need to memorize the Arabic one.
Fantastic. All right, I'm looking forward to it. So
tomorrow for sure.
Okay, great, excellent, perfect. That'd be great. Okay, so yeah, let's just wrap it up with the Lord's Prayer. I'll go ahead and lead that. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and to the ages of ages. Amen.
Amen.
Christ is risen. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Muhammad, for being here. Everyone in the chat, and everyone who watches us later, please, do your due diligence. Help us out. The whole 9 yards. Subscribe, blah, 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 yada, yada. You know the deal. You know the spiel. Thank you. God bless.
God bless you. Bye.